Huh. Recording. Okay, so look, you already got 7 participants.
Now we're recorded.
Right. So we're gonna bring you here.
I know, I gotta behave now.
I know. Everybody's in. They
No
should
jokes.
Be able to, I mean, you guys are on video.
That's what made this
so
place so
it's
fun.
privacy.
All right, speaking of jokes,
Video. Okay.
why do the Swedes put
And then-
barcodes on their ships?
Swedes.
There you go.
So how do we, I don't know.
So they can Scandinavian.
These people are muted.
Oh.
That's a good.
Isn't that a good one? I can say the Finns. But then the Finns, I got, you know, Jim Finn, Doug Finn, you know, those kind of Finns. I
Send
can't
that
say-
one up to Minneapolis.
Kathy Noel is on, so she's not muted. You don't want to, because they.
Yeah, so if Mark gets here, we'll start. The other two might be a little late.
He'll be here. So I'm stopping. All right.
But I'm right out there.
Okay.
Don't go too far. Thank you.
There he is. There he is. I gave you a reminder text.
Please, baby. Everybody get the financial numbers from Sandy? Yep. This is new tan, this is Mark. Hello.
Hi.
Mark runs the bowling alley.
He's my hero.
So, Bob, I don't know exactly how to share, so for someone to share the agenda on the screen is gonna have to do a share screen,
Yeah,
so.
I was gonna pull it down from the Scio website. Can you do share, can you do one share screen, like, I was gonna pull the agenda down from the website.
You can click on that,
I think that's
Back
right.
turn.
That's okay.
it'll share whatever you
I prefer that.
Okay,
want.
so,
You do it down. You can just-
so I just need to get this one here.
Really, a full bald spot.
Scio.
Glare.
Yeah. I put it.
I don't know.
No, I can't do this, this computer is just like.
Do you want a mouse?
Alien to me.
Do you need a mouse?
Well, it's just like. Okay.
So where in the DDA budget is the mosquito repellent fee fund money?
Yeah, I know.
Man, they are,
People are calling, they want it.
this is ridiculous.
Where?
Just the mosquitoes.
Mosquitoes,
At your house or
Yeah, I
everywhere?
haven't, you know.
Everywhere.
everywhere, yeah. Well, are you in the mosquito-free zone?
No, but
He says it more about the middle.
I use mosquito beater on my lawn.
I can.
We had the guys come out,
You gotta have a lot at your place. I played golf and I was in the woods the whole time, I was covered. They were bad.
Wasn't a problem until like 10 o'clock at night.
They're bad around here.
they are.
Stadium Hardware, mosquito beater, hook it to your house, just 5,000 square feet, boom.
And then I take my dog back here and the ticks are terrible back
Bob, can you
there.
help him open a new tab? He just needs to open a new tab. Okay.
We'll see.
They seem bigger as well this year.
It's open.
The mosquitoes seem a bit bigger as well.
Kind of mean.
Meter.
And then.
They didn't like so many of them.
It's interesting, we didn't have any until a week ago.
Yeah, after the big rain came through and just
think we're on business. This website's kinda interesting too.
Oh my God. All right.
You got all the consultants on there, but not the boards.
Come on. What is going on?
You already, go back to the, there, go back to that one.
I gotta get out of that.
And then right,
There. I should be able to click on
yeah.
that. There we go. So
I think if you just leave it there.
I leave it there and then go back to, is this the meeting? No.
Zoom.
So wait, so the board voted that we shouldn't remove the signs?
We haven't voted, we voted,
But the
remember
board-
2, 3, 5 years ago we
But
did.
did the trustees,
No, they did.
that's kind of what the way the minutes read.
We gotta correct the minutes, son. We gotta
Says,
get after who's taking the minutes.
the DDA board voted to recommend these be removed, they were denied. Some
were
trustee thought senior citizens might still use them, but now the condition, most signs are beyond
Yeah, like
use.
5, I put in there a bunch of years ago.
I'm not sure we can pay to have those removed.
Yeah, we can.
Is that? Oh,
Aesthetics,
yeah, we
beautifying.
can pay to have them removed, we can't pay to have them
Right,
improved.
we're beautifying. We'll talk about it.
Can't
Where,
maintain.
what happened to our meeting?
We're
can't
beautifying the boulevard. Maybe we'll plant some trees.
But that would be a recapitalization if we were to redo the signs at several $1,000s. True?
Can't get back to Zoom?
I don't know. It's like, I think I
That's a
lose the
big
meeting.
gray area to me, because you're not allowed to maintain,
So I can't rip out a curb and replace a curb?
You know, just get back to the meeting. If we can't share the agenda, so.
That's replacement.
All right, so this is the meeting.
Just do that.
That's
Okay.
not
Let
building.
everybody in.
DDAs can only build, they cannot maintain.
Well, what about the landscaping that we pay to have the
We
driveway?
don't, that comes out of a separate fund.
No, that's a separate.
Yeah, we have a
All right, so Peter, we can see
Yeah,
you.
the signs come out of that under-
yeah, but,
Can you hear us? Peter, can you hear us?
I think removal, we can do that, we can do, DDA
I'm
can have
always in
removed,
favor
right
of
Sandy?
removal.
Yeah, I don't know why you couldn't remove.
That's an improvement.
I don't know why you couldn't remove them, but to fix them would be maintenance.
Kathy?
That's a gray area because of,
It's extremely gray. I just don't know the
Because-
shade.
with the IRS, there's certain things like on rental property.
You guys hear us?
Become a
The
capital
guests?
improvement versus.
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, good. Thank you.
Yep, I can hear you loud and clear.
Good.
Okay, all right.
Hello.
So if guests would remain, if members of the public would keep their video off and
Audio.
and
Audio.
mute until it's time for public comments, that would be great. Thank you. And also, we had some problems with the chat function during, we had some problems with the chat function during the working session. If people could refrain from using the chat function, that would be helpful because otherwise it creates a distraction.
All right, good.
All right, I think we're good, I think we're good to go.
I printed off the agenda, so we're gonna use it up here, but I printed them off anyways. Because we're hybrid, we didn't know which way we're gonna go, so just try to cover all the bases. You ready, Will?
I think
So then I'll call the meeting to order, 12:08. Roll call, Bailey. Yep. Hathaway, Harsche, Jeff's coming later, he's not here. Holland.
Here.
Nathwani, how do you want me to pronounce that?
Nathwani?
Nathwani, thank you. Sloan.
Here.
Smoltz, Stites. Tankanow, she's not here yet, she's coming later. Jennifer. All right, audience participation. Is there any, the guests want to say anything?
So if people, members of the public would like to make a public comment at this time, please raise your Zoom hand and then I can call on you, I guess. I don't see any members of the public who are indicating an interest in speaking at this time.
Yeah. person here.
I have a person here, well.
Oh, sorry. You tricked me by being in person.
Your in-audience person wants to talk. Pam Boyd, 517 Linden Lane. In all due respect, I don't believe the DDA has realized that by not offering the hybrid or Zoom option until this morning for this meeting, it may have kicked a bee's nest. In the last regular bot meeting, Supervisor Hathaway asked to vote in a hybrid option for meetings going forward without the option of residents viewing in off-site locations the ability to comment. We felt our right to speak was being removed. The vote was a tie. Clerk Flintoff then reconfigured the amendment to add in a voice, an opportunity to comment for those from work or home. This option passed. You may have begun to see that residents are participating as attendees at your meetings. If they are not attending, they are reading reports from residents such as my weekly newsletter. We have become and are interested in an informed group of residents. In the past, all Scio meetings were in person. We lived this way and knew no other. However, it should be noted that the city of Ann Arbor has a hybrid system of some kind for a period of years. Then in January 2020, the world changed with COVID. New rules to live by, we adapted. Zoom made Scio government run without pause. Zoom became the new normal. COVID changed us forever, and so many of the rules to live by are still with us. By taking away the online option, you are now limiting the number of residents who can attend these meetings. Such an example would be my neighbor. He is the sole caregiver for his 90-year-old mother. He's very careful to not be in a large group because he doesn't want to chance bringing home COVID to his elderly mother. With returning to the old normal ways of business, you are denying him the right to attend these meetings under these new circumstances. At the special bot meeting this past Saturday, no resident showed up in person that was not participating in the meeting itself. A good 24 residents showed up online. It was the first and very successful hybrid meeting. 2 board members for various reasons attended also online, on the online connection. The hybrid meeting, the bot employees should be used for every committee or board in Scio Township. Thank you again for having Zoom today. We all appreciate it.
Thanks for coming. Thank you. Any comments? Any other guests?
I don't see anyone indicating interest in speaking.
All right.
I guess everyone can see.
Yeah. Lean forward. Let's review last meeting's minutes. They're on the second page of this kit. And again, we're posting those like 8 days after the meeting. They're posted to the website, and then we have to reapprove them at this meeting. I think Jay found something that was
The minutes?
like, yeah.
In Roman numeral 4, number 3, the last sentence, we agreed to assist the paving of Enterprise Drive for $114,000. Was that, we're assisting with $114,000, or we're paying half of $114,000?
We're assisting with that 114, up to 114. That's weird.
And they're paying what?
Washtenaw Road Commission's paying the balance.
Which is?
I don't know what it is. We don't know.
Well, actually, the Township and the Road Commission and the DDA, the 3 of us, the 3 entities are sharing the cost of the Enterprise Drive project. So it's whatever funds the DDA's sort of annual match are still available after the dust control sort of shared cost. The Township and then the DDA, and the DDA was going to pay half.
We're going to pay up to 114.
Up to 114.
The number's less.
I don't recall the number being 114.
It was an odd number. I remember that.
It was up to 114 because, the only reason I have this in my mind, Jay, is that I was trying to find the records in the absence of the minutes. And at the time that the DDA met, on Monday the 10th, we did not,
You recall, I don't recall. So
I know.
I guess we're good.
we didn't know.
Sandy recalls, you recall. Okay.
We got you.
We didn't know at that point exactly what the cost was going to be from the road commission.
Okay.
So that's why it said
Thank
it was
you.
that odd number.
This was the one that we had to do right away because the money was there from the road commission.
Matching funds.
That's right. Okay, got it.
Any other questions on the minutes? Got a motion to approve?
Move to approve.
Second? Got it. Thank you.
On discussion, what, in Roman numeral 6, under the discussion, number 2, discussion, I don't understand what that it says, some trustees thought senior citizens made, if it's confusing to me, it's gotta be confusing to people reading them in the public.
Where, number 2 where? New
Roman
business?
numeral 6, old business items, Roman numeral 6. Some trustees thought, I'm not sure what that has to do with it. The trustees said we should leave them, or they said we shouldn't.
Oh, you're looking at,
Second paragraph of
Roman numeral 6.
Roman numeral 6, number 2. Some trustees, or is it some of the members of DDA?
yeah, I mean, it was recent as well as, back in 2019.
So the trustees, so this went to the township board?
No, just discussions with some other people thought that seniors were still using those, whether we should keep them or not.
So was that our discussions? Or some?
No, it did go to the board, and the board, our recommendation was to remove the signs, and the board of trustees thought that
So they kicked it
some
back?
people, they kicked
Yeah.
it back, and then, so here we are again,
Yeah.
3 years
We're
later.
revisiting, because something has to happen. They either have to be fixed or.
Okay.
That's you.
Thanks, that was on the discussion part, so I'm just move forward with your vote.
Are you okay with that?
I'm good, thanks.
And we'll get into that again today. So we've got a motion to approve the minutes as written. You correct a little bit of it? And a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. Special meeting, old minutes, DDA Chair report. I really don't have anything. We'll get into everything we're going through, but I just want to thank everybody for coming back. It's good to get in the same room. I think, you know, we've all been doing with Zooms for the last year, and you just lose some connections. So I think it's important. I think we collaborate better in person, so I was in favor of trying to get this together, and I guess we'll do a hybrid, which is fine. They've got the cameras set up, so so we'll videotape it, be open to the public. It's always been open to the public, you know, to come and watch us, but now it's open to the public on Zoom, so we'll keep that going. All right. Will, you got a report? We've been a little busy with everything else in the
I'm trying to think where we were at. I think we'll probably get to all of the things that I might speak to in the course of the agenda.
New business. So we've got the Spark. We have always donated $5,000 to Spark. And I think everyone here knows who Spark is. There's information in the kit that talks about them. They help Washtenaw County mostly. I don't know if they're outside Washtenaw County, but they help Washtenaw County with new businesses, land assistance, funding, and they usually are the receiver of government grants, all different kinds of grants, and then they pass it on and probably keep 10%. But they do help in the area. They always ask us for a donation. There's a Jennifer that works there. She was going to come today, but her schedule wasn't open to discuss it. But again, we have to approve the donation if we want to Spark from the DDA. If you look in the kit, there's kind of what they've done. And I asked her, I said, can you tell us what you've done in Scio lately? All right, are we getting our money's worth? And I think for $5,000, they should come and do a sales pitch. They should talk about what they're doing in the area, and they usually do. But they have helped out with, small businesses, some large ones. A lot of times, companies out of state will call them. If you look through here, these are some of the grants that were awarded in Scio, the Small Business Survival Program. And again, they passed on money from either the state or the county or the feds directly to these businesses. I actually think Jennifer's not here, but I think she either worked or consulted with Spark before.
Do we need a motion to do that?
Yeah, we do need a motion.
I move that Scio Township Downtown Development Authority donate $5,000 to Ann Arbor Spark. I think it's still called Ann Arbor Spark, right?
Yeah, it says Ann Arbor Spark.
Second.
Any discussion, any other questions? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Nobody opposed, motion passes. Thank you. Update on the bus shelter. Got some discussion as we left on. So it was slow for a while. It got slow because our Scio Township attorney got involved, which we have to be honest. So writing up the easements for all the property takes time. So really, we're almost done with all of that. They're going out to all the property owners to sign. We had a great discussion with AAATA, right? 3 A's. 3 A's. They were ecstatic that we were doing this. They usually put bus shelters at locations that I think get 20 to 30 riders, but they were really happy we were putting 5 in the area. There was some change up with leadership there, so we had to kind of bring the rest of them up to speed on what's going on. Making sure it's ADA compliant is a huge factor. But we should start to see the construction phase pretty soon. I think, and again, Joe from Washtenaw Engineering is in charge of it for the DDA. I think he hired Silvano Concrete, no? Saladino to do that. And I guess they do a lot of bus shelters, yeah. Okay. They do a lot of bus shelters all over the place. So when AATA heard that, they were glad it was them putting those together. So you'll see, hopefully, in the next couple of weeks, you'll start seeing these go into on the boulevard. The rough cost, again, I think it's gonna roughly be almost $20,000 per with the engineering, the concrete, and the bus shelter itself. We'll see the final numbers, but that's kind of what I'm projecting. So about $100,000 for 5 of them. We'll see. And I think, Sandy, we paid, how much of it have we paid? We paid Brasco
60 or 70 or
Yeah.
something like
I
that.
tell you exactly, it's on your,
Oh, it's on here? Good.
It is under account number 158, construction in progress, $66,805.25.
There you go. So again, we'll eventually have to pay, I think we already paid Joe too, the engineering, so there'll be some final costs coming up, but.
Are those 5 bus stops the only 5 on the boulevard?
No.
Do we know which 5 are being,
Yeah. We know. Yeah, you haven't been to a few meetings.
I missed one!
So across from you, I went over and talked to the new,
Rough crowd.
who bought the old, the corner lot over there? The old, Mini Cooper.
Oh, LaFontaine.
LaFontaine, went in there and talked to them, because the original owner signed the easement, okay, so they were ecstatic it was coming. So there's one going there, which is across from yours, one in front of IHA, one on Little Lake in front of the credit union, one down on Myers and the corner of Zeeb and Jackson, and they're ecstatic about it too. And then there's one going in Scio Farms. Nice. Yeah. That's gonna be interesting, because they get the smaller bus in there, but they wanted to put it, they already had a bus stop on the other side, but they're putting the shelter on this side, so we'll start with those 5. Good. And they're still in storage, and we'd like to just get them out of storage and get them
Hey, your place
off the
still there?
market.
Are they sitting there?
No, they're at Malloy, I believe.
Okay.
They're at Malloy.
Okay.
And they're calling me, and they're like, when are you gonna get them out of here? So, but it's good, I think it's a great project, we've already gotten some calls on it, thanks for putting those up, so, and they're not even up. So I think once we see them, and like Will said, maybe we can put some messaging on them. The guy that delivered them said, these are the coolest, and they're small, but he said, these are the coolest bus shelters we sell, so that was kind of nice. So, all right, any questions on that? There's really nothing to vote on there. So let's get into this, the Boulevard Directional Sign Project. So again, everybody knows what we're talking about, and the boulevard, the signs that you can't read. I sent a couple pictures of them before. Jeff had a good idea of getting quotes to repair and maintain, and then also remove. So that's what we did. And they're in here, the quotes to do that. I just put the email itself, and then on the back, Huron Signs that originally put these in, and the same gentleman that sold those to us is still working there, and is willing to help with the repair. So he knows all about the signs, knows where they're at. You know, I looked on Google to see them, and there was 43 signs, there's that many there. And then I drove around and I counted 41, so, but there could be some in bushes, you know, you can't see them all. So it's somewhere, I think, between 41 and 43 signs. So, and Chris, who I called, which is our lawnmower company there and landscape company, some of us were on the board then, we changed mowing companies, and it really, there was a huge improvement when we did that, so I've been really happy with these guys as far as maintenance. Again, like Sandy said, the DDA doesn't take care of any maintenance anymore, so it's not our job to take care of the mowing. But I think we can help with aesthetics, beautifying the DDA, and that's where we can help, you know, either fix or remove these signs. So again, Chris's quote is $200 to remove the sign, right? So what is that times 41? It's like
200.
Yeah.
$800. 8,000 change.
Yeah. Which I thought was a pretty good price.
It's like a 82.
They're both pretty comparable for the removal.
Yeah, the removal and it's pretty similar.
I calculated that the Huron would be cheaper.
Yeah, much cheaper, $47.50 as compared to $8,200.
Yeah, you're right, bad math.
Huh?
Bad math, you're right.
It's about half the
Yeah,
price.
it's about half the cost. Huron Signs, a
Yep.
little bit more than.
Sounds like they're happy to have them go. Instead of trimming around them.
They're only like $100 and some a sign.
So again, he would repair some of the signs.
Who would?
Huron sign.
Isn't that kind of an either or? Either
Yeah.
get rid of them or repair.
Right, so it's $8,600 to take them out, or $17,000 to keep them.
4,700 to take them out.
$47.50 to take them out.
Oh, just to remove them,
Huron.
yeah. Oh, to remove them, yeah.
So that's the cheapest option.
Right.
Yeah.
Significantly.
Fix them.
So I was walking dogs and ran into Roy Townsend, who's on he's a lot of you people know, I just say because some don't. He's the retired Washtenaw Road Commission director. And he said, we were talking about this before, and he said that was an issue, even when they put them in, they didn't know if they really needed them. You know, do they really need those signs? You know, do people really get the direction? Because some have arrows, you know, to go the other side and turn in lanes. So even, you know, 20 years ago when they put them in, they were still debating whether they even needed them then. So, questions?
I have a comment on Huron Signs to remove these signs. It says to remove all 43 for disposal and recycling. It doesn't say including disposal and recycling.
For disposal.
For disposal.
They gotta take them.
Just something to check on.
Right, so that's a question.
Could be an extra.
Maybe that's why they're cheaper.
Could be an
Just
extra.
leave them where they lie.
Could be an extra.
Well, it also doesn't talk about any sort of concrete footings and removal of those. Is it just at the surface, or are they taking?
No, it says cut off at the surface.
So the posts be cut, so does the concrete then remain?
I think so.
Yeah.
I think that's the implication, is that they're leaving the base there.
Okay.
KKR kind of implies that it might take the base.
Maybe that's why they're more expensive. If they're
Certainly a
taking- if they're
bigger job to
taking-
go subgrade.
See, and KBK is suggesting that they'll either cut them off or pull them out of the ground. I don't know, they may not even have concrete around them. I haven't inspected that.
Yeah, I don't know.
Quite often posts that aren't gonna have any.
Fair. Yeah. I don't know that it's a big deal that we do or don't remove if there is a footing there. Do we do, I mean, going down 48 inches if they're that deep?
Not going anywhere.
Yeah.
There's a lot of cement in the boulevard. Like when they built it, they dumped cement in there and covered it up. You know, we tried to get that grass to grow, the trees to grow, and the ground is just so hard there. And that's what they said, it's just hard.
Some of it's the topsoil they used.
Yeah.
You know, they used topsoil that came out of the ditches, which was, a lot of it was silty and stuff. They reused the topsoil that they removed. And, because I've talked to the contractors about it, and some of that had a lot of, well, road debris, you know, tire stuff, or maybe oil and leakage, and, you know, I actually bought some of that and used it on a construction site, and it does not grow grass very well there either, so.
So is the discussion about what do we want to do then?
Yeah, I mean, so we're gonna recommend, again, to the trustees, what we would recommend, whether either remove them or fix them. Because again, like, how can we tell other businesses to fix their place when our place, you know, I mean, I've never had somebody say they can't find a place. They always say, why are those signs in that condition? So I think it's prudent for Scio to either fix those or remove those. I think if we've removed them and maybe helped with beautifying, we can add some better trees or bushes to some areas, look better.
So Sandy, it's a question for Sandy, that becomes an improvement if we remove them, correct?
Yeah, I think so. I don't see a problem with that.
See, so I look at the two numbers here and I say, gee, we'll have like another $12,500, you know, if we did the maintenance on these, which we can't pay for except out of our maintenance fund, which is not the DDA tax incremental revenues. You know, so either we have to pay for it out of that or the township general fund has to pay for it.
The maintenance.
No, yeah, the maintenance, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
You can't cover maintenance.
we can't do maintenance.
Right, so
Is it maintenance or is it beautifying the boulevard?
We can't do that either.
Yeah, we can beautify it. That's our,
That's an improvement, putting in trees, but
I
mowing
think-
is
I think-
beautifying and it can't be paid for.
if I understand the difference that Jay is trying to point out, is that if the signs were repaired, then there would be ongoing maintenance of the signs. And in fact, repairing the signs could be viewed as maintenance. However, removing the broken signs could be counted as beautification. So a one-time cost of removing them, whichever removal the DDA, you know, suggested, would be okay for the DDA to pay, but the ongoing maintenance would be a problem.
So as a Scio Township stakeholder, I'd rather, if we're out of that maintenance fund that we have, I'd rather, in fact, we could even plant trees as part of our improvements. So, I mean, I'd always rather, there's all kinds of things you can use it for other than maintaining signs. And that's my feeling on it.
So are we leaning one way or another to repair it or remove?
Jeff has a motion.
I think removing them makes the most sense. I think that the utility as far as directional signage is limited and the cost is greater than removing them, and I'd be in favor of removing them.
Whatever value they had as directional, you know, guidance has diminished over time.
Agree, both
I
because
think
they're worn down and because people use their devices.
That's been the consensus, I think, here.
I'll support Jeff's motion.
Motion, make a motion. Are we concerned about the cement underground? Do we ask,
I'm not concerned about it.
As long as it's cut deep enough.
Yeah.
They need to be cut so that they can be mowed over.
Right.
That would be it.
Right. No
Yeah,
sharp protrusions.
Well, this says just below grade, so that would be, you know, safe for any mower.
Yeah.
okay.
So I guess the motion would be, motion to recommend to the Board of Trustees that they're removed.
And the Huron signs
With,
quote.
right, using the Huron signs.
Okay. You got a second?
I think, just a question on that. I think we need to confirm what that 4750 covers, because we need to find out if it's not disposal and recycling, what that extra cost should be.
And
So
the-
that we're comparing apples to apples on both bids.
And the exact number of signs to be removed. Because presumably it would go down if it's less than 43.
Right.
True.
Yeah, there's
So
one,
do-
there's
is
one that, I left the one that says South, welcome to South Township, right? We're leaving that one that's
Let's
on
not cut
wagon.
that off.
Somebody hit that with a car, we had to repair that once. We're leaving that one. I think all the other ones I counted, but I could have missed some too.
I mean, we're about $100 per sign.
Yeah.
So if things get adjusted for any reason, then the price should go down accordingly.
I think it's 110 and change per sign.
So we got a motion by Jeff to recommend using Huron signs. Maureen seconded. All those in favor say aye.
For removal.
Removal. Aye.
Aye.
Any against? No. Motion passes. So we'll confirm that, if disposal is included, which I would think it would be. All right. We'll go ahead with that project. And we'll recommend it to the trustees, I guess. All right. Update on the South Zeeb. I always say south, it's north. North Zeeb. Gotta correct that in there. Pedestrian path and possible road enhancements. Again, there was a lot of debate on what to do, trying to get some blight out, which is the property across in the corner of Zeeb and 94. Again, MDOT came and we had a conversation with MDOT, and the director of MDOT was surprised that that spot hasn't been fixed up or used. I actually played golf with an attorney that put together the merger and acquisition. I think it was ProQuest and Bell and Howell, and he's like, man, what the heck? He goes, I did that merger 20 years ago, and the property's still not developed. So, you know, if the DDA can help in that situation, it'd be great. We just wanted to get an update from Willow if anything is going on there.
Where are we talking about exactly?
The former ProQuest site?
Yeah,
This is
The
South,
MAV
this
property.
is South Zeeb.
I know.
It's supposed to be north.
Okay, gotcha.
Oh,
Yeah,
that's
clerical
Jeff?
error again.
Oh, that's his parcel?
I need somebody else to do the minutes.
It's just your way of getting that done. I'm trying to, a few strategic mistakes.
So there's not much of an update. You know, let me back up here. So part of it is I have to remember that this group meets every 2 months. Right. So I'm trying to think what's happened since this group last met. And actually, I don't think that much has happened. We have looked to the state to, you know, in their budget process to, you know, for some support for improvements on North Zeeb. I think the focus has been on pedestrian improvements. That's certainly, when we met with the head of MDOT, that was his emphasis at the time, was the crossing over the highway, to look at what kinds of things could be done to improve that. So we're still waiting, I think, to learn whether the kinds of improvements that have been talked about are possible. I mean, it seems intuitively to me that they would be, but I'm not an engineer. The improvements I'm referring to would be an expansion of the sidewalk where on the overpass, and some kind of a physical barrier between the automobile traffic and the pedestrians and cyclists that would be using that expanded sidewalk, widened sidewalk, and signalization of the interchange where you have, in particular, the eastbound traffic. Well, I guess it's eastbound and the on-ramp that are combined on the south side of the bridge. I think what we learned is that a signal is already warranted at that location with current traffic flow. So those improvements would, I think, make it much more safe for pedestrians to make it back and forth across the highway, and then sort of connect, really in a sense, connect the different parts of the downtown development district, because you know, you sort of have this arm that kind of reaches up North Zeeb, but right now it's a little dicey if you're a pedestrian or a cyclist trying to make your way in between those two business areas. So that's been the focus in terms of the improvements. There's been discussion of an idea for improving the traffic flow, but it's, you know, it's really just a concept that was put out there, and I've learned more since we put that concept out there about sort of problems with it in terms of what it would necessitate in terms of easements, sort of widening the road, impact on trees, existing trees, and actually even impact of that particular automobile traffic solution for pedestrians trying to make their way along that section of North Zeeb. So I don't know where we're at in terms of that particular idea, you know, what is warranted there. And I did have a conversation with Washtenaw County Road Commission staff where I sort of put this question to them about North Zeeb, and I was sort of surprised at the answer, and that was that they don't see the existing traffic as being an urgent problem to be solved. They think it's not ideal, but they basically are sort of looking to the future, and so their question is, you know, what is the new traffic going to be once development occurs on the former ProQuest site, and I suppose any other new development that might occur. That's what they're sort of looking at as being a trigger for some kind of change to that section of North Zeeb in terms of the automobile traffic and any kind of re-engineering of that.
Question.
So as a planning commissioner, that's the green light to just go ahead and approve something at the former ProQuest site? You know, instead of paying attention to the road and the traffic that might influence, we're gonna improve the pedestrian bridge as opposed to the traffic situation that's gonna occur when we approve that? And the road commission is basically saying, it's not a problem, we'll just go ahead and approve something up there?
Well, actually, I understood what they were saying to be that the problem with automobile traffic, the question of sort of the tipping point from their point of view of whether something needs to be done is the development of the ProQuest site. So from their point of view, from the road commission's point of view, it's whatever happens there, the incremental difference it makes in terms of you know, vehicle trips on that section of road, that's going to be the factor for them about whether something needs to happen there.
So as DDA, isn't that something we should be prepared for and reserve a certain amount of our project finances for that, as opposed to bike paths, pedestrians? Because it's not a much used, you know, it's a downtown development authority. I mean, we need to move traffic.
I don't know that there's any proposal for the DDA to spend money on the improvement over the highway.
Okay, I thought that was the implication.
Yeah, we're not really, that's certainly not something that's on the table right now. And I guess that's a good question. I don't know, in terms of sort of, you know, planning ahead, you know, the DDA certainly has as part of its mission sort of, you know, figuring out how to facilitate you know, development within the downtown development area. So I guess that's a good question.
Yeah,
What role will we have?
Again, this all started because a
Washtenaw Road Commission, who I talked to several times before we brought in MDOT, they would not allow property to be developed until the road is fixed, but they wouldn't pay for it either, right? So we're trying to come up with 5 or 6 million to fix that road situation. So Washtenaw Road Commission is saying, no, you can't build, but we're not gonna pay for it, so, you know, reach out to the state, county, you know, DDA, we could possibly issue a bond again, but, you know, we're trying to get rid of the blight as well as take care of the traffic, so, you know, where the DDA can help I think it's up to Washtenaw Road Commission of what we have to do to get that property used and back on the tax rolls.
So Planning Commission and DDA for a decade has been looking at doing something as far as the North Zeeb road. So, and you know, I think that's something we should kind of keep on our radar.
So if I caught this right, the county said it's not a priority, but in order to develop it, we have to do something with it.
Well,
it's not a priority till it's a problem.
Yeah, and I guess.
So it's gonna create a problem if he develops it?
It's not,
and you can't develop it if it creates a problem, so that's kind of, Township says you can't develop it if it creates a problem, and the road commission says, we'll only.
But they don't see a problem.
Fix it if it is a problem.
When it was ProQuest, how much traffic was there coming in and out?
A lot.
Well, then why is it any different? I mean,
So the
if that was so in
development-
operation, then you'd have a road problem.
well, I just want to clarify that, because I want to make sure I'm representing what I heard from the Washtenaw County Road Commission staff correctly. My sense of what they were saying is it's sort of what the owner of the former ProQuest site does sort of, sort of in some ways dictates what will be necessary in terms of any kind of response or not in terms of reconfiguring North Zeeb. So if it's a very high volume in terms of traffic trips kind of development, that's a different situation than if it's an office headquarters with a smaller population coming and going from it.
I think somebody's going to admit somebody there.
Oh, I'm sorry, thanks. This is so hard to keep track of.
So I think if Will can just keep us informed of what's going on, I think eventually, you know, we could look, and we got proposals for that before, we issue another bond like we did Jackson Boulevard to help. We're not gonna, you know, issue a huge bond that we can't afford to pay ourselves, but I think funding's gonna come from, and that's what we learned on the calls in the past, funding's gonna come from a lot of different sources to help, but.
To me, that's more important than feeder roads.
Yeah, me too.
I mean, that's a main thoroughfare on a heavy corner. That's more beneficial to the township than paving quarter of a mile on that nobody sees.
I agree. Okay. Well, we'll keep on looking at it. Thanks for the update.
So along that line then Bob, is that if somebody brought up doing a project that may be several $1 million, it's do we spend all the DDA money and dissolve the DDA in 2029?
Well,
or do we extend the DDA? So just keep that in your back of your head.
So again, those are two great questions. So we did, about 6 months ago, get bond proposals from the attorneys that did the original bonding of Jackson Boulevard. And I think I got like a 15 and 20-year bond that and it was probably for between $2 to $3 million. And that was their question too, because our DDA runs 10 years. So we got 10 more years so the township will have to extend it if we did issue another bond. But I think we're waiting to hear what Washtenaw Road Commission says. It's kind of up to them if the road has to be fixed, if not, to get that development over there. And if they give us the green light to help, then we'll help. But
Jeff, have you actually submitted a project already to the Planning Commission?
We did submit a project to the Planning Commission. We went through 2 hearings at the Planning Commission and were relatively clean. Had some issues that we still needed to work on with buffering between us and our residential portion and the neighboring residential portion. But our traffic mitigation plan, which is really what we're kind of talking about now, was probably between $4 and $6 million. And the Washtenaw County Road Commission said, it looks fine to us. You lead the public process, you acquire the land, and you pay for everything, and we'll let you do it. Well, that's somewhere between $4 and $6 million. The project went from plausible to not feasible. So we pulled it off. We didn't resubmit. And the problem with the roadway, we're now told by the Washtenaw County Road Commission that if we do anything, we have to fix everything. So that's just not plausible. So, and Washtenaw County Road Commission,
Is that legal?
or fair.
Is that even legal?
Or fair, I agree.
I don't believe that you're obligated to pay for roads that don't.
So we've,
I mean,
Is that an impact fee?
They can require you to put in decel lanes and things like that, but I don't think they can ask you to do an interchange change. I don't think that's legal to even ask you to do that. That should be borne by the whole.
yeah, well, those are great questions, and what we've decided to do is to pull off our proposal. I guess at some point, if there's no interest for some sort of public funding, then we gotta figure out what our next step is. Because if we're told that we can't develop it without paying for all of the public infrastructure, and we can't afford that, we've got a lot of questions to ask and strategically have to decide what we're gonna next do. We've taken the tack to this point that we wanna try to play nicely with everybody, and I still think that that's the appropriate direction, but if there's no longer any desire to fix that roadway, then we've got a landlocked piece of land that we can't develop. Then that's not in anybody's interest in terms of the DDA, in terms of maximizing land usage, in terms of economic development and TIF financing for the DDA. And by the way, the Road Commission has got a lot of land that they're sitting on too, and that's also another great economic development piece that.
So did you fix the road?
As soon as we fix the road, that's unlocked.
So there,
Well, I know.
you know, when you, yeah.
And we can see the land that we're talking about right out the window.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, from the road commission, the sense I had is it's sort of, you know, kind of like what's done with that site, you know, the level of development, you know, has, you know, there's like an equation, you know, there's like a balance, and so I don't know where that, I mean, one of the questions is, I guess, from their, you know, point of view, where's the tipping point, you know, where some kind of major, you know, re-engineering of the road would be necessary.
I think the answer to that depends on who asks the question. And if you say that the road's not broken right now, then you don't need to do anything. If you say that the road is broken because you can't develop the land that's adjacent to it, then maybe you do need to do something. And if you say that the only reason the road's not broken right now is because the development that's occurred has occurred in the shadow of a building that's not operating at full capacity, then you could say, well, gosh, maybe those developments should have or should now be responsible for paying part of it as well. So, and the base question is it broken? I mean, the only reason it works right now is because people are hurt.
The problem in Michigan is we don't have impact fees. Other states do, but Michigan does not. Therefore, there's no impact on school, there's no impact on other services, including major roads. Michigan is not an impact fee state. So you've got to kind of drum that into them that this is a community-wide improvement, this isn't a development improvement. And you just have to, you might even have to get a lawyer involved, but, you know, to get your project approved. But,
Well, again, I think the big decisions are outside.
I'm just giving my
outside
2
the
cents, I'm
DDA.
not a legal expert on the thing.
So we'll wait to hear if the DDA can assist in any project development there, but I think it would be good to fix the roads as well as get that project going over there or something on the tax roll, so. Any other questions? There's nothing to vote on there. Next item, Brownfield Fiscal Agent Property Project.
Will, you wanna update us on that?
Well, the grant came through, I think it's in the neighborhood of $340-some thousand for mitigation, environmental mitigation of, or remediation of the site on Jackson Plaza. And actually, I think a week from today is kind of the,
They're having like a little kickoff party.
yeah, kind of like a signing kickoff or something, I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm not sure exactly, but that's the date they selected to sort of solemnize the receipt of the grant and the start of the environmental cleanup project.
Yeah. So, Tan, Jeff, and Maureen are gonna help with that, 2 accounting backgrounds in the building. And I was a fiscal agent on a yield gun project before. We're just facilitating the money. You have to approve it, pay it back to them once they do the work quarterly. That email Jim sent out, our attorney, about, you know, I think even you gotta check off where the construction companies come from or something. I don't know. So you guys will help in that matter, but it's so you only have to reimburse quarterly for the projects and they've been really good in the email, so I think it's gonna be an easy project. It's not a huge project, $350,000. And then Sandy's got it sitting in our account, I'm sure, right? Sitting in our account, so you'll just.
I just got back from vacation, so I didn't know it was here.
So we got the grant, we're just going to authorize it being given to the contractor?
Yep. I think they have to pay it, and then you reimburse them.
I think it, yeah, I think
It's
it's
a reimbursements contract, but I sent you the contracts to read.
most state grants seem to function that way.
Yeah, there's an environmental firm involved, they're probably gonna get a chunk of that money, and so there's 2 different contractors already involved, so it'll probably, but it's only quarterly you have to do it. And again, a fiscal agent, we're a nonprofit, so we were able to hold the money for them to get reimbursed. We're just facilitating their brownfield cleanup, and I guess the building, I don't know what's wrong with the building, but it is a factory though,
Yeah, it was a former, I'm trying to remember now, it was like had automobile.
Yeah,
It was car detailing.
It's, so the problem is that inside the facility, there's fumes from the solvents, right.
Yeah.
They used a lot of.
So I think it's a great use of the DDA to help with that project, so. Is there any questions on that? We pretty much already voted on that and approved it, but the money's in, so it should start. Yeah, we'll know more next Monday, and the project should start. Feeder roads planned to be paid by Washtenaw Road Commission. So again, what happens, and they do this every year, Washtenaw Road Commission goes to Will, goes to Scio and says, hey, these are the roads we want to help with. And then Will and other people kind of pick the ones that they think need the most repair. Some of them are in the DDA, some are not. So this year though, we did have the side feeder road that we're gonna get some matching funds on. But it's kind of interesting how that works. And again, you think Washtenaw Road Commission would have money, but they don't. They don't have a lot of money, so they're delegating. They're trying to find the worst roads possible to fix if they're gonna fix any of them. And then, you know, I think it's just important for us if we have ability to help on these side roads to do that.
So on Saturday, we had a working session of the Board of Trustees, and the primary focus was on roads. And this is all sort of fresh in my mind, but if anyone's interested, the meeting materials from this Saturday's working session, there's a lot of good information about how the Road Commission, you know, handles its responsibilities and how it interacts with the township and other municipalities. But what Bob was just describing, there's an annual list of sort of proposed projects that comes from the Road Commission to the township, in every township actually. And there's a certain pot of money that is based on some kind of formula that's available from the Road Commission in terms of matching funds, but the Road Commission isn't allowed to spend the full cost of any kind of improvement to a road. It has to be matched somehow, and the primary source of matches is the municipality in which the road is located. So in Scio Township, we have a township-wide special assessment district where every parcel is paying about $85 a year towards this fund that we as a township then have available to sort of match what the road commission is offering. And if we choose pay more, you know, if we see projects on their list and say, oh, well, you know, we want to do all these things, and they say, oh, well, we only have this much matching fund, we can say, that's all right, you know, this is important enough that we want to go further. And in the case of Enterprise Drive, that was one of the projects from this year's list that the DDA and the township together are putting money towards. And so the matching funds from the road commission are, you know, that's helping, but it's, you know, the matching funds alone aren't enough to do all of the, you know, projects that could be done in Scio Township. So that's how, and, you know, in terms of how the process works, I don't know if that's how it always works. That's how it sort of worked this year. I think going forward, what I hope will happen is that we'll have a rejuvenated roads committee, and that committee will be the body that sort of vets these projects, and that it won't be, you know, so reliant on the supervisor having to, you know, make recommendations to the board of trustees or to the DDA. That we'll be getting those recommendations from the roads committee, and that they'll be developing their own list of priorities and sort of seeing how they align with whatever we get from the Washtenaw County Roads Commission. But I do want to say that the Roads Commission has been, you know, a very good partner in my limited experience in terms of this annual roads program. And if anyone wants to find out more about it, I've got all kinds of information.
I'll send out they did had a nice slideshow.
Is that something new,
I'll forward it
that the
out.
county is now participating with helping to pay for some of these roads?
No, it's
In the past,
actually,
they've always said that it's up to the owners of the properties to pay for their roads.
well, it depends on the road.
Well, the feeder roads,
Yeah, so
whether they're.
Maureen had to pay her own feeder road.
Well, not even me, but Scio Hills had to pay for its own. The residential ones have to pay for theirs. They do an assessment.
there's different categories of roads. If the presentation that we had on Saturday, I think would help to sort of clarify this better than me trying to explain it. But there are different categories of roads. There's some that are, and it's not just, you know, arbitrary. There's criteria for differentiating between the different roads. And some roads are candidates for different kinds of funding. You know, certain major, you know, at a certain level, primary roads can get federal funding, and so on down the list of sort of priorities.
You know, some roads have a lot of businesses on them, and they're small. Some are long with few businesses. So the funding it's always about the funding. Who's going to pay for it?
Well, this is the first time I've ever heard of Washtenaw County helping to pay for any roads, other than maintaining the dirt roads in the county.
No, they would get a list every year. If the DDA, they would call us if one of them was the DDA, but usually the township would pick which road. And again, you know, a lot of the bids are from Cadillac, and what I found, and someone else said too, they own the gravel pit out there, so whoever we quote, and we should get 2 quotes from everybody, but it's always Cadillac because they own the closest gravel pit. So even if you hire the Blvd carrier, Thompson or whoever it is, they come out here, they're still gonna get their dirt and gravel from this gravel pit. So
it's the asphalt.
Asphalt, yeah. So, but it's interesting. So I would like slowly to put together quotes for all the feeder roads. Not that we have to do those or fix them, but at least we know what we're dealing with as far as cost.
So by feeder roads, you mean the ones that sort of feed into the Jackson Boulevard?
Yes.
So I'm looking at, I have 6. I'm probably wrong here. Enterprise, Medi, Dino, the north side of Stabler, Jackson Industrial, and April.
Jackson Industrial's been done.
April's
April's been done.
Okay.
So really, it's
Medi, Enterprise, Dino.
Enterprise, Stabler.
Is anything a Stabler north of Jackson?
It's a county road, well, it's like anything else, but yeah, it's,
Is it a county road?
it's a county road, but it's a feeder road, all those are county roads.
So this year, we're gonna help with Enterprise, because we did get some matching funds that we took advantage of. And then we'll look at the other ones down the road.
So to speak.
Any questions there? But Maureen's right, like, so the projects, when her area was paved, she had to pay all of it. It's not always fair, you try to, be equal in all the situations, but it just depends. So we're just gonna look at those projects. So did everybody read the draft? Again, it's a draft of the master plan. And we were asked just to update it. We haven't updated the master plan in a while. Again, the DDA, we were saving money for possible phase 3 of Jackson Boulevard. It's probably not gonna happen for a while, so. We didn't look at the master plan that much back then, but now we do. And Jennifer, who's coming here in a minute, I think she's trying to make the meeting by 1, kind of went over this for us. That's what she does for a living. Kind of asking questions, what's important to us? What do we have to put in the master plan? I think it's a lot of information for our short meeting where we've only got maybe 10 more minutes for this topic. Maybe we need to have a retreat, some other meeting, and just go over the master plan and put that together before the fall. But did everybody first read it? I asked you to read it a couple times. Were there any questions on it? Anything that stuck out to you? Again, it's really just an update. We want it to obviously fall in line with Scio's master plan. There shouldn't be any kind of, there should be overlap there, not anything that's different, so.
So is this the Scio master plan or the DDA?
This is the DDA master plan.
Okay, gotcha.
So, I'm not sure when I should bring this up, but one of the things that comes up at Planning Commission is that a number of the planning commissioners would like to have residential, more residential in the DDA, particularly on Jackson Boulevard. And it's in the sewer district, and it takes quite a bit more from what I understand, residential equivalents, C units, more sewer, to have residences than to have businesses. Most businesses, except for restaurants, pretty much, or hospitals and so on. So do we want to just get involved in a study somewhere, or the township needs to do a study to see what the impact would be in the DDA district? Because there are people who have been paying property taxes for decades, and they've always been told that they have sewer service, so this is why their taxes are what they are. And if the capacity of Scio Townships, the sewer capacity is diminished or goes away, because they're only the transmission line is only so big, and I believe the contract is only so much for with the city of Ann Arbor, and then it's a renegotiation, which would of course be much more expensive. Or do they want to have a team B, or a different contract for the additional sewage that's going to be impacted? And maybe the residential people should pick that up if that's what they're going to do. But this is the new group on the Planning Commission who, with a master plan, is talking about not having mixed use, but actually having 4-story, 5-story apartment buildings along Jackson Boulevard. On the upside, the word on the street is that more rooftops, more residences would encourage more business to come to Scio Township. And I've heard that from the planners that come in. So it's something that either we look at it or the township looks at it, but
You're probably looking further down Jackson Road then, because there isn't any land.
well, they might be, they could be looking at where Suburban is looking at, where the old American Broach used to be. They could be looking at that.
Okay.
They could, because that's one of the parcels that is now mixed use, that may be getting rezoned or whatever, who knows? There's areas further out, along the boulevard. And actually there are probably 700 units in the last 2-3 years that have, residential units that have been approved or are in the approval process. There's several, 300 is it? I can't remember, well out at the Biltmore property across from Baker Road. And for behind Menards, that's, I can't even remember, 250, 300 units. And then you've got Scio View at the end of Parkland Plaza. So, maybe 1,000 units that are residential. And in some cases, they're not in the DDA district. I'm not sure that the behind Menards was. I think part of it is, part of it isn't. The property at end of Baker Road is in the DDA district, but then Scio View is not in the DDA district, so we don't get any tax incremental revenues from that. And right now, there's one on the corner of Liberty and Wagner that would like to go from office and convert to going to residential now. To me, it makes a lot of sense to have residential there, except they're not in the DDA district, and they would gobble up our sewer.
Where's that at, Jay?
On the corner of Baker, where the funeral home is, on the corner of, at Liberty and Wagner.
They just pushed through that big rezone or a new, was it zoning amendment? Yeah, it was I caught part of the meeting. If to go to push the office if they had the
Change the zone.
the changes. So now they're turning again to go residential.
The letters are in the file, and I believe they're on the agenda tonight. Can't remember.
Correct, I think that's right.
I think that's right.
The problem that, as it was presented, it's called the Crossroads, I think is the name of the development, is that it was an office, mixed-use development, and because of the change in the economy, as a result of last year, there's sort of a glut of office, commercial available, and
maybe long-term. Yeah.
And from their point of view, at least for the next few years, that's going to be the case, and so it makes their original proposal no longer viable. And what they're proposing is to do residential, but that particular location isn't zoned for it. So, and that's probably true of a lot of the sites that this might occur along Jackson Boulevard.
Yeah, there is a glut of there seemed to be a glut of office, especially towards Avis. They were going for a third story. Are they still looking to do that? I think that's what the difference was: 2 to 3 stories based on the topography.
2 to 4. Yeah.
3 to 4 based on.
There are 2 to 3. Yeah.
Do they still want to do that? Maintain?
I'm sure they would, because topographically the site works for that.
They were hoping to use the same footprint. There's some skepticism that they can use the same footprint as they had for...
Just change the use.
Yeah, just change the use.
So from a historical perspective, we may want to bring in, Steve Weaver was here when DDA started, and he's in his 70s, but Bill Upton might still be around, Spalding Clark, to give us some history on the DDA, because the DDA, my understanding was started, I think it kind of spun off of the Gelman issue, that when you have and the blight issues that were going on Jackson Road, but when you think about putting in water mains, because your wells aren't going to be good, it makes a lot more sense. It makes sense to put the sewers in first. Otherwise, you put sewers in later and you're going under water mains. Water mains are 5 feet deep. Sewers are more than 5 feet deep. Let's just leave it at that. And up to 20 or 30 feet deep. So that's kind of, my understanding is that's kind of how the DDA got started. Is that Sandy?
I think
there's a historian over there.
And that topic we should address. I think zoning is not in our swim lane.
No, but at the same time, the sewer district, when this master plan that's in progress right now, and I don't think we're even going to be asked to comment on it, starts swinging around as far as, gee, let's have more residential property zoned in the DDA district.
When you say residential, Jay, are you talking apartments or are you talking single family?
Multiples, no, we're talking about multiples. Yeah. So, and it makes sense. Multiples need to go in an area that has a sewer. It makes sense. It makes sense from that standpoint, but the impact, I'm looking at the impact on the balance of the property in the DDA district. And, the tax incremental revenue would be great from those, but if we have no sewer left, then we're we're kind of kicking to the curb.
This is
businesses.
a really good point. I think the focus that since I've been involved, the limited time since I've been involved has been on, sort of at ground level, but, the origin of the DDA was thinking about water and sewer as, the infrastructure that would drive development, but also as a immediate response to a crisis. So, maybe this is something that, would really make sense to think about in terms of a DDA master plan and in terms of in the next, few months. Well, you don't really have another meeting before we're gonna finish the land use master plan, the general land use master plan. So if this group wants to have some input, this is really sort of the meeting at which to think about that. But I think that's a really good point, Jay, that the DDA could play a role in thinking about, investing in the infrastructure that would support that kind of development. And, because otherwise we are going to be in a situation, well, we may be anyway, in terms of reaching a limit of what we have in terms of is it REUs? And I know this is, both sewer and water infrastructure are things that the township is thinking about in general. So, it makes sense for the DDA to include those things as major considerations in its own master plan.
Did Mark have some history?
Yes. Is besides the sewer being a direct impact and part of the needs, are we responsible for that, or is that something we would look at helping with bonding or assessment, or is that something we just watch and kind of like give our opinion on and let it play out with the township and the county?
The problem is if the city of Ann Arbor cuts us off and just says, we're at capacity, we're gonna have to expand our plant and we want you to pay for the expansion.
Or do we build our own
And then do we build our own plant?
Where does the DDA play into that? Because we're only a small part of the township.
Well, it's according to our,
About before.
it's in here, in this, if you read it.
No, I didn't.
It does talk about, on the second page, at the bottom of the page.
Yeah, I've got a meeting at the other.
The purpose of the boundary expansion was to include the property already owned by the township that was suitable location for water treatment plant and water wells. It should become necessary to build a water plant for the township. At that time, the issue was water, not so much sewer. Anyway.
You gotta go. Yeah, I think we should look at all that infrastructure in the DDA. I would think utilities would be the ones that, look at that the most, but.
Well, it's interesting because we don't, because it's not something you see. We think about, fixing the roads or whatever, but, it's really the water and the sewer that make the DDA district sort of possible, make it work. And
I just don't want to get into picking winners and losers again, because right now we're talking about paying for water and sewer, so some developer can come in and have his project through, but yet we say we're not going to pay for road improvements, and we keep out another developer from getting his project through.
So
Again, you got winners and losers.
So working on the master plan Maureen, as a planning commission, working on the master plan, if it's a matter of having some residential as a buffer to a commercial project, that's one thing. But if it's, we want to go all residential, we want to take this C3 property, commercial property, and have it all be totally residential and a multi-story residential. And, you talk 100, 150 units, you knock off a huge number of REUs, your developer probably all over that.
Yeah, no, it's a huge issue because it's a limited resource, and if all of the limited resource is allocated to relatively small geography but dense use, everybody else is starved from it, and that is a big deal.
And does the township get in a lawsuit over the fact that they've taxed someone because they've come to an appeals board and said, gee, you're taxing us too much, and they're told, yes, but you have sewer and water available. And then all of a sudden it's not available, and they've been taxed for 25 years as sewer and water available. I'm gonna be angry if that were me. So absolutely.
Well, this is one of the things that I'm learning about is how to make sure that you are not unfairly burdening either existing ratepayers for future users or that you're, you know, someone's having a special cost, is then being spread over all users that really they should pay individually.
Yeah, it's a fine line, isn't it?
There's a lot of this thinking that never occurred to me until I got into this role. But I think, in terms of the mission of this group, I mean, part of what the DDA is meant to do is to sort of think ahead about what's needed in order to, in terms of infrastructure to support the growth, the economic growth within the footprint of the DDA. So this seems, the question that you raised, Jay, I think is really, that's an important one for us to think about.
Well, I guess I bring it up because I'm concerned it's falling on deaf ears at Planning Commission. Somewhat. I think it might be getting a little traction when I bring it up, but at the Board of Trustees, it may not have traction either. It's sort of like, yeah, let's be Ann Arbor and have high-rise condos.
Well, we can't do it if we don't have the water and sewer. I mean, the idea of locating it within the Jackson Road corridor makes sense because there is water and sewer, but is there enough water and sewer?
But we may have it today, but it takes
Right.
it away from people that have been promised.
Right. We don't want to take away from people to whom promises have been made, but how do we, as an organization, either the DDA or the larger township government, think ahead to the future and what kinds of infrastructure we're going to need, and then allocate the costs accordingly.
And you can tell by our conversation, we're not gonna solve the master plan today.
Why not?
So we might have a special meeting,
Year and a half.
another special meeting for us to go through this in the fall. But I'd like to get this, done, by October, November. And,
Do we
but I
also
think
need-
I think looking at Scio's master plan, looking at utilities, looking at all those things will help.
One thing, if I could pick up on Jay's point, Jay's question specifically, because this question did come up recently, and that is, if this residential development, higher density residential development is going to occur in the Jackson Road corridor, can the DDA give some input into where it makes the most sense in the Jackson Road corridor? Because nobody, pays attention to the Jackson Road corridor like the DDA. And, in terms, like, for example, that suburban site. So that's, because I thought about this, the irony of putting residential there is that, basically, in order to clear that site, a residential neighborhood got bought out. And it was possible to buy it out in part because it was no longer viable as a residential neighborhood. The growth of, the development along the Jackson Road corridor had made those folks whose houses were on the north side of Jackson Road feel kind of trapped, either coming or going from their own neighborhood. So they actually came to the Planning Commission, and said, please let this go through so that we can sell our houses and start over somewhere else, and they were sad. But are we, does it really make sense to put residential back in that same location, knowing that the people who were living there had basically sort of thrown in the towel?
And be aware that parcel is not, those lots are not in the DDA district.
Oh, they're not?
No, American Broach is, but West Delhi to American Broach.
Right, that's right, you pointed that out, I was surprised to see that.
The way the map is.
So it affects our tax incremental revenues.
Well, the infrastructure as it relates to economic development is really critical. And whether that's water and sewer or whether it's roads, both of those are critical elements to development. And so to the extent that we've got parcels that are undeveloped or underutilized and either roadway access or water and sewer access is denied, those sites aren't going to be developed. And as you said, Will, people have been paying into some sort of a fund for a long time, and now the possibility of reaping the benefits from that are removed, it's not going to sit well.
Well, and another thing to think about is that development proposal would have been probably the lowest impact on water and sewer that you could have in terms, the auto dealership. If you put in residential on the same footprint, it's exponentially the other direction. So that's something to weigh, I guess. Not that this group is making decisions about development proposals, although we did have input at our last meeting on that particular one. We couldn't stay away.
Something I don't know how many of you know, back during the Charlie years of '04 to '08, the township bought property at the end of
Stabler.
North Stabler to put in a sewer plant.
It's a good place for it.
Just never put it in.
We got a new billboard.
Yeah, I think Spalding was always against it, from what I understand.
Spalding pulled the plug on that.
Yeah.
So it was more like to have a pre-treatment site and then transmit to Ann Arbor, as I recall, because, wasn't it? It was a
No.
full-blown.
It was, yeah, they were talking about disconnecting actually from the city for water and for sewer, because Jim Dries did a big calculation and proved it could be much less cost for the Scio Township residents than staying with Ann Arbor, but Spalding said we don't want to be in the business and killed it.
So at a certain point, we may have to be in the business, is what it comes down to, you know.
Well, there are
Either
some,
be held hostage, like so many communities in the Detroit area have been. Yeah.
there are some big decisions facing the township in terms of water and sewer coming up pretty soon. We do actually, I didn't report on this, but we are currently about to add a loop in terms of our water main, which will help existing customers and future customers.
Liberty Road?
Yeah, the Liberty Road water main. Assuming that we're able to do that the way that it's planned, it will help with water pressure and redundancy, so that we won't have people losing water as we did about a month ago when there was a problem with the water main.
And that is just, so you know, that's sort of why Scio was admitted to the sewer district, is that they really needed to have a way to finance the water main from basically Wagner Road to Polo Fields. Yeah.
All right. Well, good. So again, just keep on looking at the master plan, but let's put something together by the end of the year. And but all those are great.
Should we meet every month, you think, for a while?
That's what I think like a one meeting, a retreat or something would be good. Just for
I think it's something to think about.
we were going to do that.
There's a lot going on.
We were going to do that before and COVID hit. We're going to do a retreat on this. I want Jennifer to have some input on it as well. She can actually facilitate it for us. Good discussion. And then I just put the list of possible projects that I always list on there. Any other general questions on the discussion items?
Bob, does it make sense to add, extend the Boulevard North on Zeeb as a potential possible project, add it to the possible project list?
And we keep adding that.
Yeah, that should be on there.
Yeah, we can add that on there. All right, fiscal report and bills. Sandy passed out the bills for us.
Yeah, I put on here the contribution for the enterprise repaving and the Parkland Plaza pathway. And then,
I thought we said 75 for the Parkland Plaza pathway.
was it 75?
Remember that?
I'll double check. I read somewhere that I wrote down 84.
That's her commission.
I'll take it.
Rounding
All right, I'll double check that before
I mean, if it's 84, fine. I just, off the top of my head, I thought it was,
All right, I will double check.
I'll find it in the notes too somewhere, but.
Well, how are we we can't vote on it until we know the actual number, right?
Well, you can. It's
Yeah, can we make it based on?
Can we approve the 75?
Yeah, let's approve the 75.
all right.
Or we can say up to 84.
Yeah,
and then
let's say up to 84. That's
All
good.
right, and I
Because if I could be wrong, obviously.
And so could
It
I.
happens.
So could I.
Pretty soon you're talking real money.
So we'll say the approved amount
Yes,
up to 84.
And then the interest,
right,
again,
the DDA does not get part of the summer collected interest because the DDA is paid in whole, but yet it happened anyway, so we have to return that. And then there's the Spark and then invoice for Washtenaw Engineering for the bus shelters.
I move that we approve the payments as amended with the Parkland Plaza Pathway as
Previously approved.
previously approved up to 84,000.
Got a second, someone? Second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. Any other general questions before we adjourn?
It says,
Good seeing everybody again, though.
Sandy,
job,
just
Bob.
want to make clear, it says we need a budget amendment.
Yeah.
Is that a special sort of?
Yes, I do, thank you, Will. I do need one more motion because the township has put through new software and it will not let you pay a bill if there's no money in the budget, and we had not budgeted for that 114,000. So I do need you to pass one more motion for a budget amendment.
I move that we amend the budget to include a line item for $114,000 for Enterprise Drive, for the paving of Enterprise Drive.
Support.
All those in favor say aye. Aye. Motion passes.
Was that clean enough?
That's perfect.
There's not a
Thank you
column,
very
there's
much.
not a column for road expenses or?
Well, we just didn't budget for it because we didn't know
Did
we
you
were
send
gonna
us
do it.
the amount?
Bob, thank you for keeping things on track.
Yeah.
Doing a nice job.
Aw.
Yeah, thanks, Bob.
So,
You want me to say?
need a motion to adjourn? Yeah, I'll save those. You wanna save those?
I can
So we're
say.
gonna meet in August, or we're gonna wait till September?
There is a lot going on, so the history of the DDA, we were meeting every month when the road project went in. And then it was over, Spalding was just tired, we started meeting quarterly.
Well, we weren't
And then we got back to
getting, it was a
bi-monthly.
rehash.
Right,
Can we just have a meeting on the master plan?
that's what I think.
Let's just do that.
That's what I think we get I think we focus on the master, cause it's big, so. Then we have one separate meeting for that.
You could schedule like even on a Saturday
Yeah.
morning or something. if
Right,
you
and
wanted to.
I'm thinking
Well, maybe not.
well, I think summertime, I don't, do
I can come
you wanna meet in the
virtually,
summer? I don't,
Kinda hard.
yeah, I think September would be good for that, right? Wait until the end of summer.
I agree. I think
We could pick,
schedules
we
are
could pick an
probably pretty
evening,
full
we could
right
pick
now.
a Saturday. Well, I'll send out one of those Google Doodle, and then we're gonna pick a date and time that works best for them. But I think we focus for a couple hours on that. It is, it's good to do that. Again, it's guidelines for us, it's not written in stone. You know, I like the fact that projects come up on brownfields that we can help with, you know, so we gotta have a little flexibility, but I get it from their perspective too, they like to see dollars and columns, they know how much they can spend, so works both ways, yeah.
I move the meeting be adjourned.
Second? Talking too much, second? All those in favor say aye.
You?
Meeting's adjourned.
Not you.
You did a nice job.
Sorry, this meeting go on, guys.
I'm used to all this,